Jonathan, have you watched a lot of Olympic coverage so far?
I've tried to watch a bit. I've seen some figure skating, watched some luge, which scares the crap out of me. A little hockey. I'll just try to pick up some things here and there.
Did you get to see Quad God?
I did, yeah.
Nice.
I don't like it. I don't like the nickname.
I don't
something
like
about how it sounds. Just
he
like
wears the T-shirt that says Quad God on it.
Yeah.
Like I don't think.
I mean, honestly, if I had a nickname like that, I would probably try to embrace it too. But
Sure.
he's incredible to watch. Like,
Oh yeah,
yeah, it's
the backflip
amazing.
is crazy to me. Like
I
I know
know,
the
and
other
it
stuff's
doesn't
crazier, but I'm just like it's like
The backflip, and he does it when he does it in the short program. Doesn't even get scored. Like
Yep.
he does it just for the love of the game, you know.
Yep. Exactly. And I just feel like the crowd is just like, and he's just like, here we go. I respect that. I respect that.
I have a hard time with sports that don't have like clear winner. And I know part of it is just like my familiarity with a lot of these sports. I'm willing to recognize that. But it's hard for me to be like, not who jumped the farthest or who ran the fastest. But it's like, wow, they're doing these like incredibly intricate, feats of physicality. And I'm just like, whoa. And then someone else is like, that was terrible.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. When the scoring is like, then we have to have like this panel, and then there's this, you get points for the trick, and then your execution, and then there's an artistic score. I'm like, okay, I feel like it's getting too complicated. I think I'm with you. Oh, Jonathan, last week we talked about sports. I just want to open with this one question about sports, which is, what would you do in this particular situation? With your current skill set, would you want to compete in luge or downhill alpine skiing? Which is what Lindsey Vonn got hurt doing.
Yeah, I was going to say, I would be dead either way. Because luge is literally, you're on like a thin piece of fiber, whatever the sleds are made of. You're lying on your back on your sled, and when you're going full speed, you're going like 70, 80 miles per hour. Just on an ice chute, like it's horrifying. But there's also the part of that, like, I guess if I fall off, it's like my fall will most likely be contained to like just keep going down for a little while, I guess. Whereas if you were falling while you were doing intense alpine skiing, you could literally fall off a mountain. So just like comically continue to roll down in a way that could be devastating. So I guess based on the depth of possibility of injury, I will go with luge, but I'm not happy about it.
I might have to go luge too. I wrote this question. I don't know. Patty and I watched all of the women's downhill alpine skiing, and there was something like 23 competitors, and they had to airlift 2 of them out, and another person like fell and was injured, but they like injured their arm, and they were able to ski to the bottom. I was like, this is insane. Like, the odds are terrible for this.
Yeah.
I think I might do luge. Can you brake in luge?
What do you mean?
Like, can you apply the brake to the sled thing?
Oh, no. You gotta watch the end of it to see. Because the end of the track is, like, uphill. It's designed to, like, slow you down by gravity. But they are, like, literally just, like, picking up the front of the sled. And I don't know if that means there's a brake on the back or something, but they're, like, sitting up, leaning forward, and, like, picking up the front of it with their hands. Or, like, using... I think they have these, like... Skechers brand like rubber shoe covers or something that they slip over. I think those like function at brakes to like the final steps to slow down, but it's not something you can like put on the ground when you're going full speed. Okay, I would imagine
because I would be like, I'm just braking the whole time in luge like as much as I can. Yeah. I have seen the Skechers branded because I was like, Wow, Skechers is really branching out from comfort walking shoes to
from shape ups to to intense niche Olympic gear.
Yeah. Absolutely, Jonathan. I think I'm going luge too, even sans break.
I've also never been skiing, so I don't think I would do very well.
I have also never been skiing.
Yeah. To be clear, I haven't luged either,
Me
but
neither.
I guess
I have been on a sled.
Right.
Which is not
sure.
the
That's
same.
It feels like it.
It
Just
does.
lie on your back on a toboggan and go 80 miles per hour.
I haven't been skiing because my uncle, who was a very good skier, ran into a tree and ended up in like what you see in a cartoon when people are in those like entire full body casts.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, he was okay eventually. So that's
Wow.
why I was like, this is not. And my mom was like, this is not a good sport for our family.
The thing I appreciate about skiing is that it uses something that already exists. Like, obviously, you got to build the mechanisms to get up the mountain and like the course and stuff, but it's like, here is mountain. Like bobsled and luge, you're creating like this channel that, like, what else do you use it for? So I want there to be there to be a use of that was my thought. It's like in the summer that these courses become like really intense downhill water slides instead.
That's the only thing I could think of. That would be incredible. Well, Jonathan, we've been thinking about sports that we're not good at. So I wondered, why do you think it's a lot easier to remember like a bad memory, a bad moment, than it is for us to remember like even multiple positive ones?
I'm sure there's like some psychological or neurological reason that I'm just simply not aware of. My reaction to that question, though, like part of it, I imagine, is that there's something that like imprints about those experiences differently, potentially. That I don't often like to use the word impact when I mean influence, but I think this is where the word could be applicable. Like, I think this kinds of hard experiences imprint on our brains in different ways. I also wonder if there's like some psychological piece of this that is particularly connected to certain playouts of religion or gender that are like, well, the good stuff is fine, but like, we're supposed to be humble about that. So we don't like hold on to that, or why we have different relationships to hard memories. I don't know. There might be something there that I'm not feeling like I'm articulating particularly well, but just like these notions, whether they are like neurological or social or religious, it feels like kind of what we are at the very least pressured to do, even if it's, kind of subconsciously.
Your point about religion, I think, is interesting. I had not considered that can influence so much about what we hold on to. I was thinking like maybe, I don't know. I was thinking of like a survival mechanism, like a really long time ago. You're like in the wild and like the snake bites you and you're like, oh no, like that was bad. I have to avoid that. And therefore, like, in order to avoid it, you like hold on to that memory so strongly so it doesn't happen again. I think you often call this our like reptile brain. It's just like our like base fear. Maybe it's like, I don't want to get embarrassed again because I like said something that was not smart. I like made a joke and it flopped. Okay, I don't want that to happen again. And I bring this up because in our very first passage, we're in Exodus chapter 17, and the Israelites have left Egypt. They're wandering in the wilderness, and they say, "Hey Moses, we don't have any water. Why did you bring us out here?" It's this incredible line. They say, "Give us water to drink." And Moses said to them, "Why do you quarrel with me? Why do you test the Lord?" But the people thirsted there for water. The people complained against Moses and said, "Why did you bring us out of Egypt to kill us and our children and our livestock with thirst?" So God says to Moses, "Take these people, go strike this rock, and the water will come out of it so that people can drink." That's our first reading. And I wanted to put it sort of in conversation with our second, which is Psalm 95. A beautiful psalm. I want to read just the beginning of it to you. And this version is actually from the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America's hymnal. If you do morning prayer from the hymnal, this psalm is sung every day in morning prayer. So I'm not going to sing it because I'm a terrible singer. I'm just going to read it. "Come, let us sing to the Lord. Let us shout for joy to the rock of our salvation. Let us come before God's presence with thanksgiving and raise a loud shout to the Lord with psalms. For you, Lord, are a great God and a great ruler above all gods. In your hand are the caverns of the earth. The heights of the hills are also yours. The sea is yours, for you made it, and your hands have molded the dry land. Come, let us worship and bow down. Let us kneel before the Lord our Maker. For the Lord is our God, and we are the people of God's pasture, and the sheep of God's hand." In our Exodus passage, the people they've seen these miracles, and they're just like the first sign of something bad. The first time they're thirsty. Like they're freaking out. So I wondered, and I think this is why these are together, because Psalm 95 calls God the rock of our salvation. And in Exodus 17, Moses strikes this rock. I wondered if that's why this image is so powerful. Like it pulls from the same language. And the people say, "Why did you bring us out of Egypt?" And this is a really big leap to me from, "Hey, we're thirsty." Now they're like, "You want us to die?" And my question is, why do you think we jump? Maybe you don't do this, but I wondered if you do. Sometimes, at least. Jump from this little complaint to this worst case scenario. Why do we do this I call it catastrophizing. I don't know if that's a word. It probably is not. But why do we make it so much bigger than it is?
Well, this is interesting. I don't know if this is just a different approach to the text, but I think the function of the story does serve to illustrate this point. See how quickly the people forgot what it was like, comparing the wilderness to the oppression of slavery, and also not having a water source is a significant problem and legitimate complaint. But I think to your question, in times like this, it is astounding to see what not having basic immediate needs met, how that affects your perspective on so many things, and how it very quickly reorganizes not only your priorities but maybe your memory too. Saying if we are thirsty in the desert, the only thing you're thinking about is the last time you had water, and maybe the last time you had water consistently. And even if you're a little bit cloudier around the other circumstances, it still can be really important to have that kind of perspective on things too. For things though that I think maybe are more in line with we go from truly minor complaint to worst case scenario. I don't know if it's an attention thing necessarily. I think there can be a number of reasons. It's just if I don't draw all the attention to this, it won't get addressed. Or it can be something along the lines of, maybe I kind of to our point last week about why we emote a lot with our sports teams. It's like I haven't been directing my energy or attention elsewhere that it should be going, but now I'm like, oh man, this one thing's got me fired up. And maybe that's some of what's going on in this story too. I mean, again, water being a legitimate need, but maybe the water becomes the thing they focus on because there's so much uncertainty and so much wandering and all of that too. It's like the energy becomes redirected, and sometimes I like to say like it comes out sideways as opposed to being directed towards the thing that maybe it should have been directed towards all along. And rightly or not, the minor complaint becomes kind of the target of your rage and wrath.
Yeah. I like your idea of it coming out sideways. Because that's how I think about this. Like, you're right. I think the water is like a legitimate complaint, right? But like, I think it's clear that Moses didn't bring them out there to die. So it's like they take, what is a legitimate complaint, and then it like gets spun. It comes out sideways. Like, oh, hey, now you're out here because you want all of us to die and our livestock too. Like, wait a minute. And you're right. I think that like wandering in the desert and not knowing where you are, where you're going, not having like any type of itinerary would be anxiety inducing in itself. Like, would be very concerning. I wonder if part of Lent, one of the actions that we can cultivate is a better memory. I think like, at least when I think of my own experience of Lent, it looks like Exodus 17. Like, it looks like just like very dark and bleak. At least the beginning of Exodus 17. It's like, okay, like I'm in the wilderness here. Like, what are we going to do? But I'm reminded, both at the end of the Exodus passage, when God provides this water, but also in Psalm 95, that like Lent is also accompanied by God's promises. And that like one of the challenges of Lent is to only hear the condemnation. The like all the bad stuff you've done. Oh, you're not doing this, you're not fasting, you're not giving alms. Like, those are the classic sort of Lent practices. But it's like, no, this also calls us to remind us of who God is in the midst of all those things. And the good that we have done. Right? Like, okay, maybe you're not fasting enough. But like, that's not the whole story.
Right. Well, I was just talking about this actually in therapy recently because it's like the relationship that I have with like trying new things or doing new practices, right? It's tied up in this Lenten idea, but like my mind when it comes to something like Lent is like, if you log into Instagram when you said you were going to give it up, or you eat that cookie, it's like, it's not just you're going back on something you said, like God is disappointed in you or something along those lines. And there's so much at stake. There's so much at stake. And so much more than, I know I really appreciated our conversation around fasting a few weeks ago too. But just like, it doesn't need to be that. It doesn't need to be about perfection. It can be about, exactly as you said, taking on or letting go of some kind of practice that allows you to remind yourself of who you are in light of and swept up in the divine, and what allows you to stay grounded and rooted in what it is that you value, what motivates you. And like, especially when it comes to us lining practices like these with practices of faith and spirituality, it's like, what are the realities that you want to hold most dearly to? And I know for me, a lot of that is how I want to treat people, including myself. And so when I am taking these steps to feel a little bit more grounded, to take good care, it allows me to approach myself and others with more grace and patience and clarity and honesty. And so it's just like, and again, though those are good outcomes and things that I want, I can just recognize kind of, I guess, neutrally, if that's possible, like, oh, I didn't do that thing. This is making this thing harder, as opposed to, man, I really beefed it,
Yeah.
and I can't take care, like, I can't take care of myself, can't take care of it, and like, I know that spiral is a real easy thing for me to get caught up in, like a luge course turned water slide. You know, that was a good callback.
That was a nice callback. It was. Yeah, I guess like it also calls back to the sort of catastrophizing that I was talking about earlier. To like take these things that we're doing, these mistakes that we've made, and just to like make them define us, to tell us who we are. And like I guess that sometimes I'll only speak for myself here, but I think of Lent doing so much, naming so many of the things that are wrong with us and our world. And I think one of the things we see, at least in these Lenten texts, is Lent counteracting that and saying, hey, there's also so much right with you in our world. All these things are actually also out there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why we shed those practices, right? Yeah. Is to return to that spark, that goodness that is there. It's not to cultivate it or to try to, light the pack of sopping wet matches. It's like, no, this stuff is already around the fire that's been burning.
Yeah.
Let's return to that fire and warm up a bit. I
really like that analogy. Yeah, I really like that analogy. That's what I think Psalm 95 is doing for us here. And maybe this is like bringing me back, because when I lived at the seminary, we used to do morning prayer a lot. And like it brings me back to thinking of the ways we would start our day with this. Ours was at 11, but beginning in the middle of the day, the first service that we would do would be reminding ourselves of like who God is and our identity, to be the people of God's pasture, the sheep of God's hand. To think about that as a present reality, like you were saying. Man, Lent, the more time I spend in Lent, the more I'm just like amazed by everything it holds. I can say it that way. Like both in its like ability to like to condemn the things that like we shouldn't be doing, but also in its ability to lift us up. And maybe like I'm more amazed by the second half of that, by its ability to show us where we're in the right.
Yeah, I mean, that liturgy of Ash Wednesday is a reminder, a hearkening back to who we already are. Yeah. There's a simplicity to it that, it is shedding, but also uplifting, to be sure.
Well, Jonathan, will you pray with me? Seems like a good place to transition.
Yeah, I agree. Let's pray, Seth.
For you, Lord, are a great God, and a great ruler above all gods. In our wilderness journeys, no matter how thirsty we may be, how loud anxiety may shout, how willing we are to return to whatever came before, remind us that you are our God, and we are the people of your pasture. Call us to gather, sing, and shout for joy alongside your Son, Jesus Christ, our Savior and Lord. Amen.
Amen.